Good morning. I made it back, and we've got a little problem we want to take care of this morning. This is Wednesday. They've got a wedding scheduled for the wedding venue here tomorrow on Thursday, so that means I've got to get anchor out of here. And normally that's not too big a deal. You get in anchor and you turn the key over and it starts, but that's not the case right now. Anchor has a problem. So yesterday, or 2 days ago, I had the truck parked at an angle this way, and for whatever reason the fuel pickups must be in the back of the tank. Anyway, long story short, it ran out of fuel because of the position of the fuel in the tank. So I got it pulled up here to a little different angle. I've got 10 gallons of fuel I'm going to put in it. Then I'm going to pull the fuel filters off, put fuel in the fuel filters, put those back on. And I've got a little specialized little adapter or tool, I guess you call it, that sticks on there where the fuel pump is on the engine, and it's supposed to help bleed the air out of it. So anyway, enough talking. Let's just get this thing started. I'm only going to put 5 gallons of fuel in it. That's enough to get it started and get it home. I'm hold off on putting that other 5 gallon in it. So let's get these fuel filters off and get them full and slap them back on. Well, as you saw, that one had plenty of fuel in it. We'll check this other one, see about it. But that's a little bit concerning, because if it's got fuel in the fuel filters, it's got fuel in this other one, I've got another issue besides being out of fuel. I don't know, let's check it out. All right, I got this one off, and it is bone dry, so there's no fuel in that at all. What I'm thinking happened now is that it did run long enough for me to get it pulled up to an angle here where the fuel ran back to the pickup. So what it might have done while it was running just a little bit, it could have pulled fuel back into that first filter, and but didn't quite make it to this one before it ran out. So let's get some fuel in this one, put it back on, and yeah, let's see what happens. Here's that little tool I was talking about, or little adapter. I keep it in the door pocket because I've done this several times. I don't remember what it's called, but it helps you bleed the air out of the system. And so we'll get this stuck on there, turn it over a few times. It should let the air out, and we should be good to go. Problem I sometimes have is there's a place right here where it can go, and there's also a place right down there that it can go. And I'll have to study this. I do it almost every time I have to study it, because I don't remember which one it really is supposed to go on. So let me look at that and think about it for a minute. Matter of fact, I think it's that one down there, because that's where the fuel line comes in. So I'm gonna stick it on that one first, see if we can get some air out of the line. All right, let's see if we can get this on there. Oh, all right, got it on. Now then, what's supposed to happen is when I'm gonna crank this engine over, we should see fuel and air come out that right there, hopefully. Well, as you can tell, we didn't get anything out of that. That's not good, and the batteries are spittering and sputtering. That's great. Let me stick it on this upper one right here and see if that makes any difference. I probably just better go ahead and hook up the battery booster to the batteries and see if that'll help it get started. All right, we got the booster box on. While I'm thinking about it, I want to show y'all a little something that helps me out when I'm doing work like this by myself. So on my phone, I've got an app that's called GoPro. Let's see what it's called. It's called GoPro Quick. And the way GoPro Quick works, one thing it does is that I can log into the camera and see what the camera's looking at. And explaining that, whatever the camera is looking at, for instance, this canister right here with power steering fluid, if you look on my phone right there beside it, I can see exactly what the camera's looking at. So this is very, very handy when you're working on something by yourself, especially something like this when I'm wanting to see when that fuel starts pouring out of that drain right there. Well, it started there for just a second. I need to take those filters back off and see if I've sucked air back into the filters. Not really sure why that happened. Let me check the filters and see if there's fuel in those. I'll be back in just a minute. After I thought about it there for just a minute, I realized I was using this fitting wrong. I forgot it's got a nozzle in it right here that's for a different application. What I forgot to do was take that off, so the air and fuel can come freely out of that. This thing has a check valve on the end of it back here that will not let pressure or fluid come out because of that check valve. That was supposed to have come off. We'll get this back on and then we'll bleed the air out of the system. That one filter that I filled up there a minute ago, it was out of fuel again, so I got it full. And now then what we ought to see, now that I got this thing right, we should see air and fuel squirt out of this thing when I start it. All right, we got fuel here to this thing. Let's get this off and it should start. You heard it start and it ran just like a few minutes ago like it did when I filled that filter up. What it's doing is pulling fuel out of that one filter, and then once it gets the fuel out of that filter, it dies. So I got a problem other than what I thought. So I got to do a little bit of checking on that and figure it out. Well, help is on the way. I've called the mechanic that I've used several times. Y'all seen him on the channel. In fact, Lucas Thompson, he's going to be here sometime today. We're going to go back down and get started on the Dozer work. Lucas will come in here in a little while, and we'll see what Lucas thinks about getting this thing going. So I made it back down here to the job site, and I got to get this Dozer fueled up and greased up, and I got to put a box of this fancy government juice in it. And so let's get the government taken care of, and we'll get to work. Finally ready to go to work. Good night. Got all this stuff done this morning. What I'm gonna do, because that cut line bank over there, it's tough to get the dozer in there and get it turned and get it turned back over this corner. I think it's gonna be more efficient to take the 308 and bail that dirt out here, and then take the dozer and just do a straight push back there in the corner. So let's get started doing that. All right, I got that dug out, and this first push, I'm gonna put you up there on the drone and we'll get that pushed into place and get it packed. Just talking to Joe and Caitlin there, and they come down here just as I was having issues getting the packer started. They said their concrete guy feels like their property is on no burial ground or something. I'm beginning to believe that with all the issues I'm having too. I came over here to get the packer started, and just simply turn the key on, and I've got nothing. I mean, there's no click, there's no nothing. I can hear the fuel pump running. And I know I've got juice to it, so what I'm gonna do is try to boost it off from the starter here, see what we can get going that way. If it'll start from here, it'll be fine. There's an issue with the switch, I suppose, but we'll try this first. It wants to, but the batteries are low, so I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of tractor crack and get this thing started. All right, let's give her a little sniff here and see if we can get it going. Might have been a little bit more than a sniff. Here we go. Ooh, I didn't like that. About locked it down. I'll do a little less sniff next time, but it started. We'll let it warm up for a minute, and we'll get this lift packed in. Woo, that's too much. Gosh. Lucas has arrived and he's done some diagnosis here, and what he thinks is happening is this truck pulls fuel out of both sides of the tank. So this one being bone dry because of the way it's sitting is, we think that the fuel's run over that other tank. This one being dry, we think Lucas thinks that's what's wrong with it. So we're gonna put 5 gallons of fuel in here, and we may end up having to soften some out of the other tank to put over here. But you get an update here in a minute.
Ain't got no gas.
He said ain't got no gas in it. All right, we'll be back in a minute. We figure something out. Lucas has drug out some kind of contraption here. He's stuck a hose down in there. I think it's some kind of camera. We're doing some heavy duty inspection now.
Best I can tell, which ain't real good, I believe it is got enough fuel in it. It's reached the pickup tube, so we'll try it.
All right. What are you doing there, Lucas?
Trying to get fuel from point A to point B.
He's using air to push fuel from this tank over into that other one. I ain't convinced that's gonna work, but he's trying it.
Well, it hasn't not worked yet. So.
Yeah, it had not worked yet. While he's doing that, I'm gonna put some fuel back in that other fuel filter. We got that little tool back on, that adapter was used this morning, you saw that, and we've got fuel in this side now at the pickups. Got booster cables on it. What's gonna happen now, Lucas?
Hopefully it runs.
Let's see. Same as 2 times before, we got fuel in that filter down there now. It ran for just long enough to pull the fuel out of that filter and died, so we're gonna look some more. Well, it's running longer now than it has any other time. What he did was took the lines off at the filter and blew those lines out going back to the tanks. May have been a obstruction in the line coming to that one filter. We don't know, but right now it's running, so that's the most important thing. As you can hear, the truck is running. Lucas, what'd you do?
I assume it had a restriction in the oil, the fuel suction line, because when it died a while ago, we clipped onto the suction side and it had a vacuum on it. So took the line off, blowed back through the line, and then of course it took us twice priming it with a filter to get it to pick its fuel up, but then it's run longer now than it has. So. yeah, it's running, so we'll let the batteries charge up for a minute there.
And that's why I call the professionals, because there's no way I'd have figured that out. It's Wednesday, and I did work yesterday, but I had GoPro issues, and it just one of those days. So I didn't get anything recorded yesterday, but I only worked a couple hours on the pad, and we'll look at that in just a minute. But what I did most of the day was expanded their parking lot area and built on some overflow parking. So we'll take a look at that before we go down to the pad and see what took place yesterday. This is the parking lot area I built, I guess a year and a half ago or so. And they fill that up pretty quick on the days that they do weddings. So what we did was we went down here and just clipped off another section of ground and cut that all the way back down the grass. Got all this topsoil pushed off yesterday and connected in back up here to the existing parking lot. We'll walk down here to the end and look at the topsoil pile that we ended up with after we got this clipped off. I think Joe said this will add another 30-something parking spots. So I don't know what they're parking total now, but they can handle a pretty large vent here. What I pushed off yesterday is all this here to the right. Joe's skid steer sitting there, but and there wasn't nothing here on the right. So all that big old pile of topsoil is what came off of this new parking area here. We'll get down to the house pad now and take a look at that. And it's cold this morning. And the first thing I've got to do is pack in that loose dirt that I pushed yesterday and get that packer started. That packer is the only machine that I have that doesn't have a cab on it. And I'm not looking forward to that because it's cold this morning. First thing we want to do this morning is get this packer started up. If you remember from the other day, I was having issues with the key starting it. So what I'll do is I'm gonna try it with the key first, and if the key don't work, then I'll boost it off with at the starter, jump it off. It's got Earl in it, and it's got hydraulic fluid is good. We'll turn that key over and let the injectors warm up just for a second. Do that a couple times. Let's see if it'll start with the key. Nope. I know it's gonna be hard to start, and last time the other day, gave it a little too much tractor crack. This time I'm just gonna give it just a little squirt just to kind of help it out. All right, let's see what happens here. Here we go. It's cold on this thing this morning. May have to get the jumper out and jump it off. I wouldn't want to do that because the batteries are hard to get to on this thing. All right, let's go. Not gonna happen. All right, let's get the battery opened up here. This machine is the hardest one I have to start. Got the battery booster on there now, and it's fired up, so let's see what we can do now. Here we go. While the packer's warming up now, we'll take a look at this pad. And yesterday there was a big old hump, if you remember earlier in the video, big old hump of dirt right here in front. I was kind of saving that for to build up the backside of this pad. Now then, the backside of the pad is built up nicely all the way across over to this other side. What the plan is this morning is to take about an hour or so and pack in all this loose material that's on here. And then I don't have a particular elevation, a set elevation that this pad needs to be. It just needs to be level. What I'm going to do then is find myself the lowest point on the pad, wherever that is, within the area where the house is going to be built. Once I find that lowest point, I'm going to set the dozer up to cut the entire pad down to that grade, and that way it'll pretty well be slicked off level. Pretty easy to get done at that point. I'll keep working on this pad, getting it packed down, and when I get that done, I'll come back with the dozer and we'll start clipping it. See you in a minute on that. After using the laser to take some measurements, I have found now that over there against that wall, my pad is 8 inches higher than it is at the very edge of this pad over here. The rest of it, really from about right here over to about right in there, 2 to 3 inches difference. So there's not much sense in cutting 8 inches over there just to fill in this section over here with 8 inches, because that's too much material to move just to fill in this little area here. So what I'm going to do, I'll split the difference. I'm gonna take 4-inch cut over there and work that over here, and by the time I get here this will be level, and then I'll pack all that in and get that all straightened up. And that is the plan for now, and we'll get that taken care of. All right, here we go, and I've got y'all set up on the outside of the dozer, and obviously I'm on the inside. I'm trying out a new wireless mic to see how that's going to work for us, and I'm curious to see how it's going to work. What I want to do is try to get this stuff pushed off and smoothed out to where it doesn't look so bad on this back side, and they can do their septic tank work back here as well. One thing about doing dozer work, you can get it rolling like it is right now off that blade. You can move some dirt. When it just gets kind of stuck and you're just pushing a pile, it's not as efficient as it is if you're rolling it like that. It just keeps moving that dirt. Also, it keeps the blade clean too. Keeps it good and shiny. Keeps that dirt moving off of it good. Like a big old slug crawling off that blade. I love watch that. If you're just pushing dirt like I am right now, you won't really necessarily see that roll. When you start seeing that roll is when I'm actually doing a cut. It's cutting down into the dirt good. Now I've started cutting this down. I'll get the grade rod out and get that on grade where I want it. And then I'll start working that across the pad, getting it level. Look back here at the back now and see what it looks like after I got that knocked down. This is some spoils from where I'm just trying to get that first pass on grade. But I got all that dirt knocked down and got it carried off in there, and the backside's looking pretty good now. This is just kind of roughed in. Once they get the house in here, and we'll come back and dress everything up. Half inch on grade, on grade. All right, you can hear that solid tone. That means we're on grade. And so out through here, I've got that set up to where we are on grade. Now what I'll do is set the computer up in the dozer to cut that level all the way across through there. And here we go. Okay, let's get this dozer set up for to grading this level pad. Okay, this is where the blade is now. This is my main file and this is my side slope this way. What I want to do is, because I know this dozer is a little bit out of calibration, just from experience that we did earlier in this video, it looks like that 2.5% main file, according to the computer, is going to cut us a level slope in reality. And then our side slope, we're just going to go ahead and make that level. Scoot that over. We're going to make that level, so that'll be good. And we'll try this 2.5% on a couple passes, make sure that's going to work. What I'll do now is pull the dozer up on that level area that I know is on grade, and then I'll hit the automatics, which is this yellow button. Once I hit automatics, it will turn the hand green, turn these two blocks green, and it'll automatically drive this blade according to what this computer's programmed to do. Let's do a little bit of experimenting here and make sure we've got these settings right, and we'll get at it. already tell that's not enough, so let's go back in here and change that. On another job, I had that at 4%. So let's go ahead and bump that to 4% main fall. See if that's going to take care of it for us. A little bit of an update. I'm having issues when I go to the setting where I've got the automatic set down here in the bottom. Those are predetermined settings, so when I hit the automatic button, it automatically goes to these settings. So something's wrong with that. I know it's out of calibration, but it's been working for me, but today it's not. So the next option is, I still have an auto function, but what happens is I set this manually with the stick, so I put that in the position however I want it there, and it will hold that blade position until I move the stick. So what I'm having to do is do it the old-fashioned way, do it by eye, and get my grade where I want it, and then use the manual automatic, so to say, to hold the blade position once I get it positioned with my eyes where I want it to cut a level grade. Hope that makes sense. It's a lot easier when you can just click the button and it'll put the blade where it needs to and keep it there. But like I said, it is a machine, and it has problems, and that's one of them. Getting the finishing touches on it now, I don't like much, since I got the grade control figured out how to make it work for now. I really want to have Trimble earthworks put on this Dozer like I've got on the 304. Obviously it'd be Trimble earthworks for Dozer. But that's going to be a little bit expensive, but it sure would be nice to have. Time for an update on the pad job, and you can see there I've got the packer on the trailer, so that is a good sign that we are done. As we're headed up here to the pad to take a look at the finished work there, I just want to say I appreciate all the folks that are subscribing and liking the channel and commenting. I sure appreciate the comments. The channel is really growing here in the last couple months. I really appreciate all the folks that are helping do that. And so stick around. I've got quite a few jobs on the schedule. Got a big pond to build at some point. I got 3 days of rebuilding roads at a youth camp, and a couple of one-day Dozer jobs, and there's just a lot going on. Schedule's full, so we're going to have a good spring, a good summer, and got a lot of work we're going to do. So appreciate you watching the channel and supporting it. So now let's take a look at the pad and see what it looks like. So now I'm standing in the back corner, and this was the original low corner right here. So the pad actually starts right in that area there. And the house is going to be 90 foot that way and 60 feet that way. It's going to be basically a barn dominium. The house will be on this side, and then the shop will be on that side. Be a nice house. I saw the plans. It looks really nice. But this is the pad and what it looks like. We got this one finished. I appreciate you watching, and stick around for the message as well. God bless. All right, as we usually do when Lucas shows up, instead of me doing the message at the end of the videos, Lucas is going to bless us with a message here. So let's see what we got to say.
All right. I hope you all are familiar with it. If not, I'd highly encourage you to go read it. But in the book of Exodus, the children of Israel had found themselves basically enslaved in Egypt, which it started out as a good thing, but as times happened and Pharaoh's changed it, it turned in not so pleasant situation. But there come a time there when the Lord told Moses to go and, you know, to help to get the people out of Egypt. And God sent 10 plagues to Egypt, and the 9th plague here is the one that I want to touch on. And right here in the 10th chapter of the book of Exodus, verse 21, it says, "And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt." It says, even darkness which may be felt, you know. And in today's time, you know, there's a lot of darkness. There really is. And you know, there's a darkness that you can feel. And I know places you go as a Christian, you know, there's places you go that you feel not welcome. You feel in darkness. And but listen here, it says, "And Moses stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. It says, they saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But listen here, it says, but all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. And I've read that many times, and it just come to me the other day that I got to thinking, you know, even though there's darkness in this world, and we're dealing with darkness, and we as the children of God, we still have the light. We still are a light in a dark place, you know, and darkness cannot overcome light. You can walk into a big warehouse that's just pitch black dark, and you turn one light on, and that light will illuminate in there. You know that light's on. That darkness cannot overcome that light. And we as Christians, it's very important that we keep our light shining, that we don't let the darkness overcome us. Here in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, it says, ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. So we need not be hid. We need to let our light shine, and let people know that's in darkness that there is light. You know, God is light. And boy, I'm so glad that there was a day that I stepped out of that darkness and into his light. If you read a little further here, it says, neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. So we Christians, we don't need to hide our light. We need to let it shine. We need to keep letting people know in the world that there is hope, you know, that there's not a darkness. But as long as we're here, as long as there's a Christian left on this earth, as long as there's a follower of God, there is light and there is hope. And that's my message for today.
All right, if you enjoyed that message there that Lucas just gave, there's probably, and I'll link each one of them in the description. There's probably 2 or maybe 3 other videos where Lucas has been with us and fixed stuff and gave a message. So look for that in the description. I'll get that in there, and God bless you, and I appreciate you watching.